what we did now is just a little bit of entry into the realm of NLP. And now I'm going to explain a little bit about what is NLP and what does it good for you, how NLP can be good for you. NLP. NLP means actually neuro-linguistic programming. And the idea with NLP is basically that at certain times there were a few really smart people, nothing else to say, they were very smart. And these people were trying to search what make excellence. They want to understand what make excellence, what bring people to excel, and they started with the best therapists they knew at that time. And they basically took millions of, thousands of hours of how they do the therapy, and create models based on understanding what makes them become so good at what they do. At a certain time, there was also research that has to do with excellence in sport. There was one famous book which called The Inner Practice of Tennis, something like that, and don't say the name actually right, but it was basically about how to play tennis better. At the 70s, there were also research that was similar about the Russian Olympic team was so good, so much better than others, and came because they have special mental training. So these people took a lot of these resources about how to do everything better, and basically they got to the point in which they developed a new understanding about how the human brain works and how you can use it to basically to create deep mental states, to access anything that you want, basically any conscious level, any capability, any talent, any abilities that your brain have, how to access it. Because for example, a person can say, I'm not a good speaker, I don't know how to speak in front of people, I don't know how to be convincing. But even if I kind of shake this person a little bit, I will show him that there was at least one time in which he was convincing, in which he was talking with a lot of confidence, even if it was to a friend or his mother or whatever. So actually, once you can show a person that even once you had really good performance of something, it's actually what it means that you can do it. The problem is not with the ability of the brain to do something. The problem is how to access that ability and use it when you want. Because everybody can talk with confidence in certain situations. The problem is when you are standing in front of a crowd, how then you feel confidence. Everybody can be focused sometimes. The problem is when you are about to study to exam and you need that focus, or you are doing a test, how then you do that. Everybody can be charming sometimes. The problem is when you try to sell your product, or I don't know, you meet somebody new and you want to be charming at that moment, how to do that. So actually, by this deep understanding that NLP bring about how the mind works and how it collects information and store consciousness, actually conscious states, you can actually access all of these things. And it's a bit like yoga. In yoga, we talked a little bit about chakras. So actually, the chakras are in a way a bit of kind of have the same idea of NLP in a way, which means they understand how the mind work or how consciousness work in some really deep way, and then you can access all the benefit energies of the that are in the world and that consciousness have, because consciousness is a very diverse thing. It has can be so expanded, can have so much wonders in it. Anybody who ever took psychedelic drugs, for example, knows that, obviously. But we want to have access to all these powers of the mind, not only when we are, I don't know, doing like 10 days retreat and our concentration is really high, or we are really on the top because of, I don't know, some astrological alignment, or when we take psychedelics or something like that. We want to be able to access the depth of the potential of our mind and whenever we want. And this is what NLP is for. And I will cover a few models of NLP. Each model has to do with different aspects of the mind, and actually are extremely valuable. And the first one that I want to talk, and then we will play with how to use it, some application to these things that are actually very fast about, for example, if you are sad, how you can be happy quite in an instant. If you have fear, how you can remove that fear and put something valuable instead. If you, I don't know, need to concentrate, if you want to create rapport, if you want to have chemistry with a person, how you can actually do it quite easily. If you have a limiting belief, how can you change that belief very fast? So all these things NLP can help, and much, much more. It's actually kind of the guidebook for how to use the mind or the potential of the mind in a very, very fast and clear way. And which obviously every meditation technique, every meditation system, every yoga system, try to teach that, but this is kind of more updated. That's based on the cutting edge of modern science. It is based on models that were developed with full understanding of brain functionality, neuroscience, all of these things, psychology. So it has something which is actually really, really new to the world, and also it's also much more adaptable to the language that we have. Because today, like I can talk in the chakra terms, and the chakra has this how to access everything. But for modern people who doesn't really very sensitive of energies, for example, this might not be very relatable. But the things that NLP brings is actually much more relatable. And NLP, like actually mystical tradition, brought to the West the sense of using trance. Because the idea is that you are like how to say the genie and the child, and Aladdin and the genie. So the genie is the subconscious that can build castle in there, is almost unlimited powers, and the child is the conscious that tell the genie what to do. And usually we don't really know how to tell the genie how to do what we want to do. And that's actually NLP is basically how to teach this child to control the genie there. So we can achieve great thing. We can use our mind in much, much better way. So I want to start with actually one of the most important aspects of NLP, which is actually how the mind really works. So NLP say that actually what we see as reality is not reality. In the sense that the mind have what is called filters. And what are these filters? There are tons of filters. I'm not going to go on to them. There are three most important filters, which are called generalizations, which are called distortion, and which is called deletion. And I give you an example just for you to see it. It's very common where they start exploring it. In the 50s, there was this big cult that thought that the world is about to end at the end of 1954. And they were very, very committed to this idea. And they were studied by psychologists, they infiltrated psychology, really was under observation of scientific observation. And the scientists didn't know what's going to happen when this date will come and the end of the world will not come. But most of them thought, what did they thought? That once it will happen, the cat will be disassembled because the world was not destroyed. What was the reality, do you think? The cat actually grew afterward. Why the cat grew? Why this cat grew? It actually grew because they say because they believed so much in this end of the world thing, the world got another chance, and now we have to bring more disciples. You think they are really crazy? I can tell you that it happened all the time, actually. Every fundamental idea is like that. Doesn't matter what information you get, it will always corrupted to fit an idea, to fit the core beliefs that you have. That's actually what core beliefs are, or what fundamental beliefs are. They're actually not showing something about the experience. They're actually corrupted or manipulate always the information that comes to fit them. So you don't see reality, you just see the belief afterward. And you think it's only like in cults and religion. I can prove you now that you do it all the time. Let's say, for example, let's take again a guy who have a core beliefs that women don't attract to him, don't like him, okay? So, for example, every time he tried to be friends with a girl, and that girl reject him for some reason, he always generalized. No girl like me. It's not that no girl like you. This girl now didn't like you or didn't oblige to you in this very moment, in this context, for example. Or for example, it distorted when a girl is look at him and try to approach him. So she just tried to get something out of me. She just look at me as a nice body. She just want me to help her with the math classes, whatever. He will distort information always to feed the core belief. Or for example, he delete when he say, no girl ever gave me any sign of interest. He will delete all the times that it was not true to actually always support the core beliefs. So once we have strong core beliefs, we don't see reality, but we see the core beliefs actually. And this is why people are locked in negative states or in negative situation for a very long time, because when you have a belief like this, it will always generate a reality according to it. You kind of hypnotize yourself always to see reality like this, and this is how you create a reality. And it's very, very hard to break it unless you go to the core of it. So, so understanding the way, for example, the filters work can be very useful when you want basically to break core beliefs. And how do you break core beliefs? So actually, NLP developed the most complete mode of breaking core beliefs. I can't really show it now because it's very, very complicated model. It's called sleight of mouth. It's actually advanced model. But today we'll do one technique out of it. Actually, 31 strategies to break core beliefs, to change core beliefs. But I'll teach one. Some of them are very complicated, and some of them take a lot of practice. But when you do them right, you can really change the core belief quite fast. And also, the idea is that it can be used for a lot of things, because NLP now, if you go to the best sale training, it will always be NLP, because NLP is the most advanced model of convincing people in something. But also, if you're a therapist and your client has core beliefs that are really limiting his life, you will want to know how to do that. And obviously in your own life, when you are stuck in certain pattern, which means you have some strong idea about reality, which always repeats itself because you actually live it again and again, then obviously you want to break a certain core beliefs. It usually sits on the level of core beliefs, and then you want to make a change to this core belief. So that's one very interesting model that NLP bring. Another very interesting model that NLP bring is actually what is called VAC, or how our brain represents information. And it says that we are not all the same. For example, some people, the way our brain works is mostly visual. Some people, the way our brain works is mostly auditory, like sound. And some people, the way our brain works is mostly kinesthetic, which is physical sensation. So for example, three people feel sad, and one person will say, I don't know, I'm feeling so blue, which what does it mean? It's what kind of really represents. It's actually the visual, because blue is color. But one person will say, I feel so heavy. I feel like a log. So what is it? That's kinesthetic, okay? And one person will say, feeling the blues, which is actually sound. Okay, so it's not blue, I'm feeling the blues. But it's interesting, the connection. So when you see which metaphor, phrase a person uses most often, you can kind of very easily see what is his leading representation system. And why is it very important? It's very important because the way you understand, if you understand how another person's mind works, or how your mind works, is like you can talk to his programming language. If a person is working on C++ and you work on, I don't know, BASIC, you will not have very good connection. He will not really get you, and you will not get him very well. So understanding the way his mind works really can help a lot, and your mind work help a lot actually to communicate and bring a message which is powerful. And because, for example, if I use a metaphor, I want to, I don't know, convince somebody to eat the cake. So I can tell him, if you eat it, I don't know, it will be like seeing the sunshine. I don't know. So that's a metaphor that for a person who is very visual will work immediately. But for a person who is very kinesthetic, will not do anything because he can't imagine sunshine. He feel, I don't know, he feel like a sensation, a warm, pleasant sensation in his whole body, you know? So if you want to talk in a way which is powerful for the other person, understanding how his brain represents the reality is actually very helpful. Otherwise, it's like going through a translation type of thing. It's like talking with somebody through Google Translate. And you want to have a direct kind of talk with the other person. And in general, what the NLP says, is that's very interesting because that's what about chemistry, for example, the secret of chemistry, that the most of the communication is not conscious communication, but subconscious communication. And so the question is, if you want to really have connection with another person, how would you do that? How would you synchronize your subconscious with his subconscious? Because actually what makes us feel connected in chemistry with another person is feeling he's like us. We're talking with ourselves. He's like an extension of us. We're mirroring each other. And for example, when you look at people who are having chemistry, sit in a coffee shop, I can go to Starbucks. I can immediately after 5 minutes say, these people, they like each other and these people don't like each other. These people have like kind of love between them. These people are like business people. Actually, they hate each other. And you can see it very easily because you can see the exchange of energy between them. How the subconscious, because consciously you can cheat, you can say all kind of things, but the subconscious don't know how to cheat. So when you notice to the cues of the subconscious, they radiate to each other, you can really see either they have chemistry or they don't have chemistry. So for example, let's say you want to have chemistry with a person, what would you do to synchronize the subconscious as an idea? So you can see that the first thing that a person do when they have chemistry, the body language becomes similar. They use kind of the same body language, or sometimes it's kind of matching. It's like dance. If he tilt a little bit forward, the other person tilt a little bit backward. If he put the hand like this, maybe the hand for the other side will be similar like this. So you start copy each other body language. Then you will see that also the voice will change. You can see that they will use similar voice, and actually they will use the same metaphors. They use the same kind of words a lot of times. And when you go to really to the most subtle, when people have chemistry, the time is stopped and they just them in the world, and it's like this energy rotation, total chemistry between them. What you will see, even the breathing become simultaneous. Even they breathe exactly in a synchronized way. When one breathe, the other breathe, and one stop, the other one stop. So that's deep chemistry, deep rapport. But once you understand what make subconscious synchronize with each other, you can use it to create chemistry with people at will. It's not just a matter of chance. It can actually happen at will, and it's training you can do. When you're a therapist, you really want to be able to do it. Because, for example, if I want to help somebody to feel more confident, and I just tell him like this, when I don't have rapport, we don't have chemistry with him, you immediately resist it. You're just saying it because you want to please me, something like that. But if I have rapport, so he feels that I'm him and him is me, and then I tell him, you have a lot of things to be confident about, it will sink in. It was like saying it to himself, and then whatever I want to do to help him will be actually very powerful. Obviously, it's used in other ways. When I want to sell something to a person, and I'm in rapport with him, when I do that, and I give him a message, buy this product, obviously he will be much more lenient to buy the product because he will not have so much resistance. Think like he himself telling it to himself in a way. So it has a lot of uses, and this is why NLP is very, very, very popular in the world of marketing, world of sales, world of sports, in a lot of places. But the original use was actually for therapy, and I use it mostly for therapy. How to fix other people's shit and how to fix your shit in a way. But how to really help yourself. That's the main thing here. Because knowing how your mind works can make you be able to help yourself more. So I just give one more model that NLP usually is very powerful, and NLP is using it a lot. It's called logical levels, and I say it in really like just in brief so you have the idea. Is how, because it's very spiritual as well. It's what do I identify with as me. So for example, somebody say, hi, my name is John, I'm from Brooklyn. It will be very different than saying, hi, my name is John, I'm a lawyer. Or, hi, my name is John, I'm a happy person. Or, hi, my name is John, I'm searcher of truth. Or, for example, hi, my name is John, I'm divine, I'm love, I'm pure consciousness and bliss without form, whatever. So it's what is the difference between all these statements? The difference is the level of identity and with what I identity. Do I identify myself with my surrounding, my background, with what I know, with my skills, with the relationship I have with other people? I'm married with 3 children, or for example, with my depth of being, for example. So there are many different levels of identity, and it's very interesting because, for example, a child come and you say, I can't focus. It's too much noise in the classroom. What identity level does he live at that point? The environment, right? Because of the environment, I'm a victim of my environment. So an answer to a child like this, it's going to a higher logical level, higher level of identity. You are the sort of person, of child that can focus anywhere. And that is more powerful because now you take him not to the identity of the environment, but the identity of his skills. You can be identified on your level of skills. Some people can and some people can't. Focus in any situation. Get that identity. Be part of these people in a way because it's a higher level identity. and so on. So you can actually, when shifting identity levels for yourself and for others, you can kind of relieve problems, because actually when you shift, you go to a higher identity level, all the problems of the previous identity level kind of become trivial. They are not matter so much. Some people, victim mentality. I'm coming from the lower class, and I'm a female, so I'm an underground, so I have no chance in life, because I totally identify with my conditions, okay, and so on. But then, if the identity shift, I'm a special person. I'm a person who have the skill to learn how to learn. That's already a lot higher than my skills. Then the problems of my previous condition, they go to dogs in a way. But then maybe, my skills become weaker, or maybe I have an accident, whatever. My skills are not as they used to be, as an example. So again, I can take it to the lower. So now I'm worth nothing because I don't have my skills. But then, no, I'm not just my skills. I'm actually a being of love, for example. So it doesn't matter my skill, because I'm on a higher level. I learn how to be love all the time, to bring love all the time. And that's higher than my skill, because this is my identity, my being already. So once I know how to play with logical levels, it gives me a lot of ability to transcend problems in a way and help other people to transcend their own problems. So this is just part of the models that NLP actually use. It's far, far more beyond that. And now I represent two base models that are very practical in changing a mind, in practically using for changing a mind. And these two models are called Milton model and meta model. Okay, so what are these models? Actually, they sound kind of big, but they're actually very simple. So meta model basically is a model that says that our mind always represents information using what is called sub-modalities. For example, how do my brain know to separate between when I see a picture of the ocean and when I see the real ocean? How does my mind know the difference when I imagine an ocean and when I see the ocean? So the idea, or for example, when I just imagine something really beautiful, or I remember something really beautiful. How my brain know the difference? So the idea is that the information is stored in our brain in a way which has submodalities. It's like different labels on the information. And that labels make a lot of difference. If we know that labels, we can kind of control the experience. And how, for example, it can be used. For example, if I know what are the submodalities, for example, that represent for me, that the mind represent for, bad experiences, and I know what are the submodalities that the brain represent for good experiences, and I have a traumatic experience, for example, if I start to play shift with the submodality of that experience, I can make my brain file it in a different way. Instead of finding it as a bad experience, you can find it as a good experience, as an idea, just as an idea like this. So that's another way I can use actually submodalities. And that's actually very practical, and we can make a game like this now. Do you want to try a game like this? Okay, so let's do a game like this. So I want you, for example, to close your eyes and take a deep big breath. That is a very nice submodality game that developed by an NLP master called David Snyder, and I really like this because it's very simple. So let's close our eyes and let's think about a feeling that we like to have, an emotional state that we like to have now, like being happy, for example, or being more vital, or having more energy, or being optimistic, or anything like that. Okay, so just think about it for a second. Okay, and now there will be an image for this feeling that you want to feel more. What image will it has? And I encourage you to see this picture, and even if it's blurred, doesn't matter how clear or not or whatever, just see an image. And now I want you, when you see this picture in front of you, take your right hand and hold that image from one side. Really move your hand and grab one side of this image. And now take the other hand and grab the other side of the image. Okay, now let's play with this image now. What will happen if you open the image and make it twice as big? What will happen to the experience now? Just see. Will it become stronger? Will it become smaller? Just see. And what will happen if you make this image half the size of the original image. What will happen then to the experience? And now, try to see if you make the image closer to you, what will happen to it. Or if you make the image twice as far from you, what will happen to it? And usually, the bigger the image, the stronger it is. But if not, the stronger the experience. But if not, just do the opposite. But at least if this is what you feel, let's make the image now 4 times bigger. Open it to 4 times big. Yes, I see some people really have this. And now make it 8 times bigger. And just imagining like 8 times bigger. And then make it like IMAX big. Make it the biggest you can imagine. Just make it the biggest you can imagine. And now feel how strong this experience is. And you can imagine these nails that you can just anchor to the tip of the image and just like pluck these nails to the fringe of the image. And now let's just open our eyes. And that will do. Okay. So I saw some people really did it because I saw this big smile, for example, on the face. And obviously, when you do NLP, you don't like this technique. You don't do it to a big group. Like when I train somebody one-on-one, I really understand what his own language is, because we are very unique. Let's say I can use colors, and for most people, love represent. There are all these submodalities. For example, I want to make somebody feel love, so I can play with some modalities. How his brain represents love. So what part of your body represents love? Let's say it's the heart. And what color represents love? Let's say it's blue. And what, I don't know, a texture love have, let's say it will be soft. And then I can do the same, breathe and increase this energy of love, of this blue, soft vibration in you, let's say as an example. And then you feel more and more love, and I say, breathe and make it bigger, so like a bubble that surround you. Then you really feel like surrounded by love, and so and so. And it's actually a very strong and effective way to create a state. However, some people might work differently. For some people, brain, the color of love for them is black, and their texture of love can be sharp, needle sharp. And there are people like this, I'm not kidding. And so on. So I don't want to force my ideas on his mind. And that's actually a very important thing. Why I understand submodalities, I understand I want to adapt to the person. And I study the person so I could be able to work perfectly with his program and not just impose my program or my idea on him. So this is why usually in big groups, or some people it work for some people, which actually these submodalities works, but not on everybody. So on the personal level, you really want to see how your brain works, how specific state is represented in your mind, in your brain, and then you can access it in really fast way. Or for example, getting rid for a mindset. Some people are, let's say, are in depression, so they can make a picture of this depression, and for example, they can put it behind their head, and that like it's gone, or they can just send it away, and then the state is elevated, and so on. Obviously, it's not always like this. Why it's not always like this? Because a lot of time, it's not just about the state, but it's about an identity. Let's say that a person has an identity of I'm a victim, and because of that, he like to have bad state. He like to be depressed, because if he's not depressed and he's happy, his whole identity of victim and then I deserve all kind of privileges are jeopardized. So then when he comes to me and I'm telling him, okay, I want to change this state. I'm depressed and I do some exercise like this state will come back again and again. And the reason is that he is invested. He has secondary gain from that state. So then I want to work also the identity level. Only when he understands that this program in his mind, because this is all programs running in our brain, doesn't serve him anymore, and he wants to update the program, because maybe being a victim was very useful when he was a child, and only when he was either beaten in school or whatever, he got attention from the mother, and that was actually valid strategy when you are a child and you need attention. But when you are 35, this is not a valid strategy. But like it or not, some people are still running on software, like their computer is already Windows, Pentium, whatever, but they run on software which belong to, I don't know, a calculator or something when they were babies, right? And still don't run them, and then it's really bad. So NLP teach you how to update the programs and how to integrate different parts of you so they will work in a harmonious way. But then I have to go much deeper than the level of just changing states. You really have to work on the level of identity, see what is the secondary gain, why a person holds to a certain identity, and then you can teach his brain, update his brain, show him that this strategy doesn't work, and show him how he can get the secondary gain that used to work by strategies is not effective anymore in a much more beneficial way. For example, if that person never got attention from his mother besides being in trouble, maybe I show him a new strategy. I show his own mind. That's also a very important thing. Usually I don't enforce my ideas and my knowledge on other people. I use always their resources. So there is a part of him that already usually learn how to get the same attention in a good, beneficial way, like for asking it in a very sincere way, or for knowing how to give it to himself to feed his own inner child. In a child workshop, we were talking about it, how to become the beneficial, loving parent to your inner child, for example. There are all kind of other ways which are beneficial to do that, and he can teach it to himself. And why do I always want to use the resources of the other person? Do you have any idea? Basically, because you won't have an idea.
I was going to say, to ensure you're not manipulating.
Okay, so that's true, but it's always manipulating. The brain is very manipulative. The brain is already very manipulative. So it's not like I'm doing something manipulative. Our brain uses all these filters we talk about. All we have seeing is very fabricated, manipulative reality, and not what really the things are. Actually, the only non-manipulative state is breaking pattern, when we move from one pattern to another, like in Zen. They want to hit you with a bamboo stick on the head, the shock, and then there is one moment in which you see suchness, reality as it is in a way. Through deep meditation, you can do it. Obviously, it's not the only way to be hit. And don't go for bamboo sticks and get hit on the head. What I'm trying to say is that every state actually that our brain creates is already very fabricated and manipulative, according to the core belief and the ego survival program, which usually doesn't serve us. So we want to know how to control the manipulation in a way which will serve us. And then actually we can use it very effectively actually as a spiritual tool. And maybe you do something like to enter a state of meditation. Because as I say, NLP give you fast access to almost any state possible. So why not using it to go into a state of meditation? There once used to be a site called ZenLP, and actually gave amazing techniques. I think the site is no longer. It was a very old site, but it was the early age of the internet actually. But I really liked that site, and it was really brilliant. But I knew like one of my yoga teachers, he used NLP all the time to strengthen meditation and relaxation and stuff. It was actually awesome. It makes everything much, much more fast and powerful when you know how to use it. Actually, maybe NLP big brother is Ericksonian hypnosis. Because in NLP you do work in trance state on the subconscious a lot, but in kind of a shallow trance state, you don't really go deep. But when you go one step beyond it to hypnosis, which is actually the father of NLP, therapeutic hypnosis, not stage hypnosis, then there is nothing that can limit you. You can even generate state of not nirvikalpa samadhi, not a state of like ultimate realization, because that you need grace for it, but you can access really, really deep mystical meditational states and emulate, for example, states that people use in mind-expanding drugs. For example, I give you an example for therapeutic reasons. Using MDMA can be very, very good for trauma healing, because you have these tons of serotonin is flush in your system, and then you feel like this unconditional love, this huge unconditional love, and then whatever, suppression of trauma, which is really hide there in the deep bunker of your being, is feeling, it's safe to go out, and it can be handled as well, because you are an expanded, loving consciousness, and whatever comes, you can face it. But MDMA first is not so healthy to the brain, and it's illegal in many places, and it have like drawbacks. After you use it, you can feel a kind of depression. It has a lot of negative aspects, but you create a very similar state through NLP, for example. You can create very similar, definitely through hypnosis, but also through NLP, and then you can use that as a therapy without having all the risk of using, psychedelics as an idea. So actually, the potential with this is really, really big, and it's a very useful tool for a lot of things. And maybe we do now another exercise, if you like, which kind of utilize this. Okay. So are you ready? Okay, so we do another fast thing because it's all kind of a simple fast help kind of thing. It's not like it's just like introduction. So a simple fast help thing that we do now will be a little about actually connecting, seeing the different parts that we have in ourselves. We can choose, for example, it will be a kind of a, how to say it. It's based on a technique called part integration, which is actually very deep and very powerful NLP technique. But I will do it only like in a kind of a more basic way. Okay? So let's close our eyes and take a deep, big breath. And I want you to think about a part of you which you don't like or disturb you, some program you have that you don't like in yourself. Let's say you have fear of talking to people, or you have a part which is always judging you, or part that doesn't allow yourself to love yourself unconditionally, or something like that. So choose a part in yourself that you don't like so much. And it doesn't have to be a very intense part. It can be just something small that you can change, something small you don't like in your being. And think about these parts that tell you or force you or try to influence you to do stuff you don't want, to be something you don't want. And try to think for a second if that part will have a color, a shape, a personality, anything like that. How will that part look like if you give it representation? And think about, you can put your hand in front and think about in which hand will this part be associated. Would it be associated with your left or right hand? And make this part sit in one of your hands, the hand that is connected to it. And now when you do that, you can also do the same. Think about what is the part for you that represents the opposite. If this part is coward, is always afraid, think about the opposite part. Maybe the part that is very brave, the counterpart, the opposite part. If that part always doubt yourself, the part that is very self-assured. Just think what represents the opposite quality. And also give to that part of you substance. How would it look? What color would it have? What energy will it have? What shape or symbol will represent it? If it have a face, it will be a person. What kind of person will it be? And just put it on the other side, on the other hand. And now, as that is the case, and you have these two parts sitting on different hands, you can basically, I want you to take the second part, the part which you consider as good as updated program, and imagine like he's like a little midget, a little person who is now going to visit the realm of the other. So he's now going into the world of the other. He's kind of coming to visit in the first hand, the hand of the part which you don't like so much. And he look on the world from the standpoint of, or from the eyes of the first part, the part that you don't like so much, the part that give you problems. And try to see how your kind of adult, mature, conscious, opposite part look on the world when he sees from the eyes of that part. If he try to understand now that part, what will he understand? What will he see from that perspective? And just make it a game, like he coming to his friend/rival house, and he look at the world from his viewpoint. And he can now say thank you to the first part, and he can go back to his home. And now you can send the first part, the one that is not updated very well, the one which is kind of give problems. And now, as kind of agreement of mutuality, as friendship, he's coming to visit his friend on the second hand, the more conscious, effective part. And now he's going into his home and he look on reality from the standpoint of the second part. What does that part now understand, see, realize? What different perspective does he now able to get about the way he behaved, the way he functioned, the way he perceived reality? And just see what happened to that first part, where and when you can look on the world from a more mature perspective. And you can now just allow this insight still to happen. Allow the first part that visit the second one to go back to his home. And they both have perspective now about each other. And it's very interesting that both parts, even the one that cause a lot of damages sometimes, they both have the same motivation. They both try to make you happy. They try to make the whole happy. They just have different perspective, different understanding of things. But now when both of them kind of understood the other person, the other part viewpoint, they can really fully learn and calibrate between each other. So you can imagine like some energy connection between the two hands, like all the information that need to be passed between them start to pass. All what need to be adjust, synchronized, integrate between them is start to happen, and you can allow the hands to slowly come closer and closer to each other, closer and closer to each other. As they understand each other, calibrate between each other, synchronize between each other, learning how each one can be useful for the whole, the hand gets closer and closer and closer, and the information exchange becomes stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. And at a certain point, they simply meet. And there is something happen, like a harmony, like unity, like completion, like something happen between the hands that make the whole body now, whole being much more harmonious. Because two parts that were in battle before are now making peace. Just allow it to happen in your own pace. And in the right time, you can just take a big deep breath. Thank these two parts that come to help you. See how they now know how to work much better with each other. You can also project how now you will deal with specific situations in which were not very harmonious because of this conflict inside. Now in the future you could do much better in these situations. And now you can open your eyes, and that will do. So, thank you.